The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
Like that happen.
I gotta do what I did for Kelsey, because I gave her, I put her logo on the side of her shirt. I'm gonna have to get you one and put, but you gotta give me a clean logo. I need a clean logo. If you got one, or if you want me to knock one out, I could do it or something.
This is what it feels like.
Because I already know what it feels like.
Let's go, D.
Hey, T-Bar, what's going on? What's going on? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's hunt.
We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how do we the Miami Heat of football? Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up the chin straps. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from that. He's a man. They can be hit just like he's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's who I did. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world.
What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Weaver! Let's go to the house! Let's go to the house! It's a wrap. Game over.
No, you know this game is just getting started right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM, and it's Winning Wednesday on top of that. And it wouldn't be Winning Wednesday without my brother like no other, all the way from Hard in the Paint. It is none other than David Grubb. What's up, DG?
Just grinding. Just continuing to grind every day.
Bruh, you are throwing the ball up and smacking it dead straight out of the park, man. You are hitting hit after hit after hit on Hard in the Paint. And I saw the numbers that you posted up, I believe earlier this week or last week, about the number of downloads you're getting and everything like that on the show, man. Great stuff, man. Congratulations, man. We're glad to see it.
Thank you. Like, I think today we're getting close to 1.4 now.
All right.
And from what I understand, and I mean, like, I didn't know any of these things before I started. It was just like, in the first 30 days, if you're getting 130 downloads on an episode, then, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
But we're at 20, not even 20 days yet.
Yep.
So that's exciting. I mean, like, just that kind of growth is really exciting. And then to see that it's kind of picking up in other places. I mean, we've had listeners in Europe, in Australia.
Yep.
I've had them in Israel.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it's like that to me is just like, these people are just interested in me and what I have to say. I'm like, wow. So
yeah, I love it because on my iPhone, I got a podcast app that was already preloaded. I click on that and then I search for Hard in the Paint. And let's see, episode number 19, David and Dino dissect the Pelicans. Number 20, the Pac-12 players stand up. Let's see. And then it's got episodes underneath that. So, man, I love it, bro. I love it. It's right there for me. And like I said last night, I was listening while I did not want to hear Stan Van Gundy on the call of the Rockets game. I was able to listen while I was checking the Rockets out last night.
Thank you. I mean, I don't like I have two more coming out today. It's like, and then I got one on Thursday, and then Friday I got LaChina Robinson coming on.
Really? And man,
yeah.
I'm trying to say, I love you, but I hate you right now, man. I love LaChina. bro, how can I just like be in the room? Like, just let me in the room. I just want to be in the room.
Look, China, look, I had to use my Wake Forest connect because she played there for 4 years and is in the top 10 all-time rebounder. I had to be like, look, I'm a Deacon OG too, so I need you. And we finally connected. It took us a few months to get it, but we're gonna talk on Friday. And she's a star. She's just rising up so fast. And I couldn't be prouder because there's a group of us that I'm starting to see out of Wake Forest that are making our mark a little bit.
Yeah, let me tell you something, man. She is one of the ones I'm really proud of. Of course, Adeneke from here. Who played at Cy-Fair High School, went to Stanford with her sister, Chanae. And, man, those are the ones that are just, you could just see them shooting up the ranks on major networks and things like that, man. I'm glad you got connected with her. I love you, but I hate you so much right now, man. I'm so jealous right now. Jelly, 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 jelly.
And getting Rob yesterday to do the shout out was
Time out. What did I do to Rob Parker?
I don't know.
I'm leaving it out there. All right, so I don't know if I can show this to you. So I saw your tweet. And I think it's still in my, because I follow you. So and then I clicked on it to see what was up, and it said you are blocked from seeing this follower's tweets. And I'm just like, what did I do to Rob Parker? How did I get on the Rob Parker don't like me list?
I don't know. And, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to ask for you right now. You better ask Kelsey. She knows him better than me. Kelsey even knows him better than me. You better check with her.
Bruh, I'm really trying to figure out what I did to Rob I'm Crazy Parker. Hold on, man. I got to find this because I was like really, really. And there's no way you can go around it. There's no like you can get in their DMs and say, yo, bro, whatever I did, I'm sorry, forgive me. I was just blocked out altogether.
Yeah, I think you can add him. You can add him and see if he'll get you, but I don't know what happened with you getting blocked. What did you do?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm trying to find your tweet because you said you were all amped up and I was trying to click on it to get all amped up. And then all of a sudden I was blocked. I can't even find it. I don't want to see it again. It'll hurt my feelings all over again. Please tell Rob Parker I'm sorry. I don't know what it is, but I didn't mean it.
I don't know what you did. You did something in H-Town came through.
How do I even get on Rob Parker's list for Rob Parker to say I'm going to block him?
I don't know. You might want to have to go check through your tweet history and see what you did. Do a little search, some sleuthing.
One thing I know is I never tweeted Rob Parker, blah, 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 blah. Never did.
Maybe he had you confused with somebody else.
That could be.
Like maybe it's the barbershop, from Coming to America. Dr. King, thought you was somebody else. Maybe that's just he thinks you're a different AJ Jones owes him some money.
Oh my God.
He did something to him, hollered at his, one of his people. You don't know.
Listen, I didn't mean to steal your what you were gonna say good about Rob Parker. I just don't know what I did. So
no, it was just really kind of him. He didn't have to do that. And shout out the show, shout out the website, and wear the hat. He wore the gear. So it's like he's, I really appreciate that. That's why I'm getting on Kelsey because I ain't seen her wear my shirt yet. I gave her a birthday gift. I want to see her wear that thing.
Kelsey has been killing it, bro. She has been killing it. She had Sean Marion on.
Yep.
The Christian Okoye show, man. I was just sitting there like a little kid stargazing because the Nigerian Nightmare was a beast, man. That brother ran with bad intent before Marshawn Lynch. He ran with bad intent before some of these other brothers that are out there right now and just did what he did and walked away from the game.
Yeah, and people forget he was a track star too. It was at Pacific, right? I think that's right.
So too, yeah.
Yeah, so track and field, and just remember he and Barry Word. Remember that when they had both of them in the backfield, and Barry Word had started with the Saints and got booted from the Saints because he had a cocaine problem, and then he came back, got himself clean, and they were just two bowling balls, just running over people for about 2 years, 3 years there in Kansas City together. And Okoye,
Man.
but he always going to be remembered for that Atwater hit, though. When Steve Atwater put him on his back on Monday Night Football, and you heard it. Remember that? That pow. I mean, that's one of those ones that I'll never forget. That was a hit.
The fact that he got up after that, I was like, oh, he gone. Mama, what are you watching? He gone, mama. He gone, mama.
That was that Eddie George, Ray Lewis, when you just get popped the wrong way. I think that there's a lot of times, certain, Eric Dickerson, remember in the 85 NFC Championship game against the Bears, and it was like the second carry of the game, and it just, bam! And he was done. He was the rest of the day, he was no good. I don't want that.
Tiptoed through the tulips. Eric Dickerson was such an upright runner that, you had to get him just right to get in his, his mindset like that. But, I was thinking one thing that we hadn't talked about was the dynamic duo of Galbraith and Muncie.
That was a backfield that never really got to take off, though.
But still, man,
it could have been so great, and New Orleans blew it. They never. I don't think they never ever wanted to really understand Chuck because he was a different dude. And again, if people act like these were the only people using cocaine at the time,
let's keep it real. At that time, you could.
And they didn't think it was a big deal. Everybody thought it was a status symbol. That meant you had money. Yeah. You've seen it over and over again. It's like, oh well, if you're rich, this is what you do. And so these guys have money and they got introduced to these things. But I think it's a lot of times organizations decide who they want and don't want. They did it with Wes Chandler. They did it with Tony Galbraith. They did it with Chuck Muncie, and they just got rid of those guys before they could ever develop. And then they go off and do great things for other people.
I mean, could have been killing it at the Saints. I got to take a break, but when I come back, I want to hear. I got a question I've been meaning to ask you, and it's concerning Archie Manning. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can tell by your face where you might be in the same boat I am. We'll be right back with more of this on David Grubb on Winning Wednesday on the lunch break.
Quit drinking or doing too many drugs. Listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-961-2730. 800-961-2730. That's 800-961-2730.
Having trouble getting focused? Getting your to-do list tugged on?
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
KYOK 1140 and 92.3.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
No, you gotta keep that dude right.
Be sure to tune in to Motivational Thursdays on Shiloh Radio, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., where you will be encouraged, inspired, and ignited on the legendary KYOK 1140 a.m. and the all-new 92.3 FM.
You're having your lunch on the lunch break with KYOK.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. It's our Winning Wednesday. Let me remind you, Greater Greenspoint Census Car Parade is going to take place Friday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Grand Marshal will be none other than Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Co-Grand Marshal Pastor E.A. Deckard, and Bishop Shelton Beatty. They're going to drive by, honk, and wave to celebrate the Greenspoint community being counted in the 2020 census. If you have not taken the 2020 census, it is not too late. Be sure to go to 2020census.gov. All right? All right, David. Archie Manning. Remember him?
Oh, I know him well.
Sons, a couple of them. Went to Benjamin High School in New Orleans.
Isidore Newman.
Newman.
Yeah, you think about Ben Franklin. Yeah, they went to Isidore Newman.
Ben Franklin. Yeah, that's right. I'm saying Benjamin. Newman High School, New Orleans. One of them went to Tennessee. Other one went to Mississippi. I forget the one that, the older one.
Both of them went. Yeah, two of them went to Mississippi. Cooper and Eli. And then, of course, Peyton goes to Tennessee.
How did Archie Manning get to be the godfather of football, of the NFL? Does he have some connections that we don't know about, we're not allowed to talk about? Is he a made man? Archie Manning was not like all of that.
I don't understand the fascination with Archie Manning because there isn't a single franchise in the NFL that it would put a player with his stats up on its Ring of Honor, that would unofficially retire his jersey, that would treat him as if he's the most important player outside. He and Drew Brees are considered the two most important players in the history of this franchise. And I don't see it because Archie made a grand total of like 2 Pro Bowls in his career and never led the team to a winning record. And I remember being in the Superdome when they booed him before he was traded to Minnesota. So I don't get it other than his persuasion.
But even from the persuasion, you ain't the best from the persuasion. You're not even one of the real good ones from the persuasion. You just.
But in New Orleans, just look at how it's gone. Steve Gleason has a statue. Steve Gleason, I think, had 2 tackles in his whole NFL career, and he had the block punt against Atlanta. And he has a statue. Ricky Jackson in the Hall of Fame. He ain't got no statue. Willie Rose in the Hall of Fame. He ain't got no statue.
Yeah, they just want to give people statues in New Orleans.
They just don't want to give them to certain people.
I got you.
Because I've had that conversation with Ricky Jackson before. I've had that conversation with him.
Ticked.
And he does not appreciate the fact that Steve Gleason, and again, that ain't nothing to do with the man.
Right.
Steve Gleason done so much for ALS and has been an inspiration to so many people. That ain't got nothing to do with what happened on the football field. And you go tell me that the greatest, in my mind, the greatest player who ever laced up his cleats and put on a helmet for the New Orleans Saints, who in the 1980s, the only linebacker I thought was better than Ricky Jackson was Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
And that's called the Andre Tippett's.
Yep.
All those people. None of them was, to me, as complete a linebacker as Ricky was. And for the fact that not that whole Dome Patrol, who was voted the #1 linebacker corps in the history of the NFL, does not have Godfather status, does not have their jerseys retired, that 2 of them have died already and they still haven't been honored, and yet Archie Manning is treated as a king when he did statistically, he's worse than, statistically he's behind Aaron Brooks. He's behind Jim Everett. He's behind Bobby Hebert. He's behind certainly Drew Brees, obviously. He might be behind Billy Gilmer. If you talk about, certainly Billy Gilmer has a better NFL resume overall than Archie Manning. So it's like, if Archie were LeVar Ball, how much criticism would he be getting? But Archie Manning doesn't get criticism
at all.
He can use his sons and strong arm teams.
Right.
He can use his power to get them into situations that he likes. He can speak out on their behalf, and no one bats an eye.
He suppressed a deal up at UT, University of Tennessee, that literally would have started the Me Too movement. Like literally would have started protests in Knoxville.
Yeah, because Peyton has a history of incidents over his career where he did inappropriate things to women in the locker room. And it was reported at Tennessee, and they shut it down. And they not only did they shut it down, they disparaged the woman who came forth with the allegations and called her a lot of things.
Yeah.
And hurt her professionally.
Yep.
Similar to whom? Lance Armstrong?
I was gonna say when Lance Armstrong on the sued the people and was wrong but won. So I'm still trying to figure out, is Archie's middle name John Gotti? What is the backbone of Archie Manning that gives him this clout? And it's not, to me, it's not just even in Louisiana, it's NFL wide. Like, you are the godfather of the NFL for what? How you do that?
I don't get it. There's no more mediocre player who's gotten more mileage. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be a college football legend, and he is that. You give him that. Okay. But
so was
what other mediocre college football player, mediocre pro football player do you know who has this much sway?
On top of that, here's the thing that also gets me. And nobody calls him out about it. Like, nobody read the Archie Manning story and just say, where did this guy get all of this pull from?
And to think about it on top of that, you also look at it, Cooper got a job with Fox. Remember, Cooper, his oldest son, got a job with Fox doing his own little segment on the football show. Hadn't been in the football business at all. Hadn't been in the business at all. He was working in the oil industry down here. He wasn't doing broadcasting, didn't have a radio show or anything, but all of a sudden Cooper Manning is doing Fox NFL Sundays. You know what I'm saying? Their Manning name is what kept Eli starting for 3 extra years. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't understand why Archie has this outsized power in the NFL, because another father, particularly a black parent, because you see the kind of stuff that Amy Apple has had to deal with as a black parent who is assertive in her son's future. She's gotten tons of backlash.
Wait a minute. A black woman, son of an NFL player, who underwent brain surgery, and they tried to drag her through whatever proverbial mud they can. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, joining us all the way from the DMV, it is our missed, long-lost little sister, the third, first, or second member, whichever one she wants to be, of Three the Hard Way. Put your hands together for Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
Yeah, it feels good to be back with you all. Like, I would have been sooner, but my power went out, and then my router decided to go out, and me and Verizon have been having some friendly conversations, but I'm here.
I don't take it lightly. It's not like a tropical storm / hurricane did not just go through your way. So we appreciate you digging out and coming to hang out with us on the lunch break. So we're talking about Archie Manning. We're talking about the I don't even know how he got the title, the application, the whatever, ran unopposed, I guess, for Godfather of the NFL. And I'm just still trying to figure out how nobody calls him out. Where are the Skip Baylesses? Where are the Shannon Sharps? Where are the the Wiley guy? Where are these guys? They call everybody else out. How come nobody would call out Archie Manning? Like, dude, who even are you?
Let's be honest. The Manning family for a long time has kind of been like that golden standard, right? Like your Brady Bunch, kind of perfect family as we like to see it in the NFL. And it's funny, I'm having this conversation with y'all because I was just having this conversation with a colleague where I don't know if many people know this, but Lamar Jackson, his only representation is his mother, a black mom at that. Mom is never.
Kelsey, if you can hear me, you're pixelating on us.
Packet will say, well.
Okay, there you go.
I think she.
Oh no! Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, she got to probably call back in.
Yes, I was just touching on, and it's sad. You guys can hear me now?
keeps breaking in.
If you want, you can call in, and that way we can hear your audio. And because I mean, you're saying good stuff. I want the folks to be able to hear it.
Okay.
All right. Do you have the number you want me to send
I'll call in. So keep talking, and I'll call in.
All right, no problem.
Can you send me the number?
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now.
Thanks.
David, her point, you know, Lamar Jackson, his mom, and I knew that. I knew that from the time that she got him down to Louisville, and she has been the one to say, yeah, I'm handling your business because I don't want anybody to take advantage of you. And these strong black women don't get the same kind of clout as a doggone Archie Manning, who has done a grand total of nothing.
I mean, if you had a black woman walk into a university and say, protect my son over these allegations, and then I'm going to also unleash on this woman too, I think that the reception would have been very different, because we see it all the time where black parents who come in and try to say things about their kids and the treatment that they receive. You go back to let's look at the Texas Tech situation a few years back with whose son was that?
Craig James.
Craig James' son, right? Craig James wasn't seen as somebody they're like, that's a concerned father going in and protect his kid,
right?
And that's what he's doing, and he's exposing something, this mistreatment. But if a black parent were to do that, it would be, why are you complaining about this? You got this opportunity. You should be grateful for it. Leave it alone and go. And then they will direct you and say, these are the agents you need to talk to. These are the people you need to associate with. And I would imagine, knowing from the few black agents who are out there getting larger clients, and there's more each year, but just to get on the name from universities to allow you to meet with student athletes is something that is a barrier. So it's a barrier for black parents, it's a barrier for black agents, and for the power the outsized power you give to an Archie Manning, it speaks to that, that network of, we protect this group, and this old power system will stay in place. And I think that's why the Pac-12 stuff is so important.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get to that as a matter of fact. Okay, we got Kelsey on the phone line. Kelsey, can you hear us? You're breaking up a little bit on the phone as well, Kelsey. Let's see.
I'm so sorry.
No, we got you now. That's better.
I my phone to my mouth, but nonetheless,
to my mouth, but nonetheless,
touched on. And I think something important to remember when we talk about black agents, I just my professionals DC group. The only thing more powerful than a black quarterback like Patrick Mahomes signing that contract would have been if a black agent had negotiated that contract.
Right.
Think about that power that would have had.
No, you're absolutely right. And there were a number of black agents that had first round draft picks. But imagine if a black agent had been the architect and the lead negotiator behind that deal. That would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, it would have been huge. And then, I mean, you look at somebody like, I know people don't like the Ball family or whatever, have their thoughts or feelings, but for a long time, somebody had been saying, there's that narrative about the black fathers being in the lives. And when we had a black father that was in the life, maybe overly in the life, if that's even such a thing, because that's something we often use as black parents, then people started complaining, well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Why is he stepping to normal? But this is what you guys asked for. And this is a parent that just cares about his kids, does not want his kids to be exploited, and he got flack for it. And again, went outside the status quo because he didn't want people making money off of kids being off and trying to teach them the importance of black wealth, generational wealth, and knowing that they have something that their days will always have. Might not like LeVar Ball's antics, but what you can learn from him is ways that we should all be involved as parents. Because far too often I have the conversation with parents about their athletes. I don't know what's going on. Well, the agent said this. Well, the coach said this. What are you saying? What do you know about
I got you, Kelsey. Kelsey, do me a favor. I'm trying to mute you on one so we can hear you clearly on the other. And of course, my deal is not working for me. So,
do the break?
Kelsey, we still have you on the phone. Okay. But you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point because it's really like the tip of the iceberg to what we've talked about here David and I've talked about players choosing HBCUs over PWIs and realizing that where you go is where the media will follow because you are the blue chipper. It's that next level of, okay, now I've made it into the league. I'm at the top of my career. Why do I feel like this type of person can handle me better than that type of person now that I've made it to this level? And then why would somebody trust, of all people, and Archie Manning? And he's got the ear of Roger Goodell. He's got the ear of, all the other top executives, the top owners, you name it. It's almost like Archie Manning a la E.F. Hutton. When he speaks, people listen, and I don't quite get that. David, jump in for me. I think we...
Yeah, I mean, you look at it as, even with the quarterbacking things, he gets a lot of credit for developing these quarterbacks, but we haven't seen that really. It's the kids who are already considered great. You haven't seen like somebody come out of nowhere from that academy that they do once a year, and it's a fine thing to do, and it's great. And kids get to meet Peyton and pick his brain, and same with Eli, whatever. But comparatively speaking, I mean, yeah, his kids have done a great job. But is it different than, let's say, I mean, you didn't give that kind of power to the Golics. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that family had player after player, or the Matthews. I mean, Bruce Matthews, Clay Matthews Jr. They had done that was, and they went all the way back to their grandfather in the NFL, and they didn't get that same kind of. I think part of it is the position, certainly quarterback being the position that it is, but again, there's so much to question too, because Archie Manning's been basically a resident of New Orleans for 50 years now, almost. 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
What has Archie ever done in the community?
For the community,
on that level?
Right.
The same things that you would ask of Drew Brees, I'd ask of Archie Manning. Peyton Manning has certainly had his associations with Papa John, and we know those controversies that were with that company. He's had his associations with Donald Trump. He's had these things politically that you would say, where do you sit, Peyton? How do you? So I think that they have not really been scrutinized for what they do, because Peyton's created this affable personality of, I can make fun of myself, and Eli doesn't really say much, but they get to hide behind that, and they get to hide behind Archie and this impression of, man, he's the guy who never got to make it. But nobody gives that. Again, I don't know another player. There's so many players that didn't pan out in the NFL who had a shot and got beat up. Ain't nobody making David Carr into a legend.
Right.
You know what I mean? He lost a lot of games for people. And nobody made Gary Hogaboom into a legend. But Archie Manning in the NFL was below mediocre. Yeah. I mean, that's just the fact.
Yeah. And again, the clout that he walks around with, that blows my mind. You talk about that camp. I remember when and I guess I shouldn't use this as an example, Johnny Manziel literally got called out because he went to the camp, and I guess he left early. It's like, oh, you can't do that to the Mannings. You can't do that to the Mannings. Dude, I mean, for real, like, this is a necessary step to be a quarterback in the NFL, is to go to the Mannings quarterback camp. I don't understand. How come the brother Whitfield doesn't get that kind of love? And I dare say he's got more valuable quarterbacks that have done well in the league than have come out of this Manning camp. They might have the volume, but look at the results.
Yeah, I believe he worked with Mahomes. He worked with Andrew Luck. He worked with just a lot of quarterbacks that have gone to him and have gone on to have success. So yeah, I mean, I don't understand. It's a strange phenomenon. And this was a dude at the end of his career. It was like, he got booed in Minnesota, and y'all had him in Houston for a minute. He got booed there too. And all of a sudden he comes back to New Orleans and he gets on the radio, and it's like everybody forgot that he was just not even okay. I mean, it was just like, he's all right, whatever. But there have been better players. Yeah. There have been better quarterbacks. There have been fathers who have had talented kids, and yet for some reason they've made him the first father of football. And I don't get it. I don't get it. It's almost as if it's protecting this Southern story of he and his wife Olivia, and they're Southern boys raised all up Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, all these things. And it's just, I think it's part of a preservation of a myth of the old college football player that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. No, I've always wanted to ask you that question. We got David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, joining us here on the lunch break. Kelsey Nicole Nelson's up in that area where Storm just went through. Her router just went out again. She said Wi-Fi just went out again. She's going to try to get back on. So if not, we definitely understand. And then we got another guest going to be joining us here in the second hour. But yeah, I've always wanted to ask you that, man. That was one that again, nobody's calling him out. Everybody seems to kowtow to him. Like when he speaks, everybody else drops down a little lower. So, the knowledge of Archie can rise above the rest. And I don't know. I almost feel like he's the big booster, if you will, behind the program. Like, I don't want to be the president, but I'm going to make sure you can be president kind of guy. He's got billions of dollars behind it. I just feel like he's got the purse strings and the coattails of the powers that be, but I just don't know what he did to get there.
No, I don't know. And I think that, he gets to escape a lot of scrutiny. He just has. He has. Over the years, nobody has ever asked any questions of him of any serious nature other than just, whenever those stories have come out and people rewrote the stories about Peyton later in his career, people rewrote the stories about things that he protected his boys from. And then, then you make this documentary on the SEC network of the Book of Manning, and you gospelize him basically. And it's no other. You don't see it with Tim Tebow treated that way. He doesn't have that kind of power and influence. It's not, I don't know what it is. I don't get it. He didn't win the Heisman Trophy. He never won an SEC championship, didn't win a playoff game, didn't go to the playoffs. I don't understand it. I don't get it, because usually when people have that kind of fondness for a player, there's some measure of success that went along with it. I don't know a franchise that idolizes. Name one. Tell me a quarterback for another franchise that wasn't good, that didn't win anything, that people talk about and be like, that was our guy. Ooh, I can't do it. So it says that there's something different. There's something unusual here.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here looking at some of these comments. But let me jump to this real quick. I had Garrett Jones on yesterday, of course, former NFL player, and he's putting in his work behind the scenes to get all of the hurdles out of the way for a shot at a general manager position in the NFL. And also had a young lady on by the name of JT Anderson. Jay Anderson. Mm-hmm. And both of them are very instrumental and have literally fought their way up in their various careers. When you look at what's going on in the Pac-10, when you look at what went on with TCU, earlier this week, have you ever seen anything like this movement, this, and it's in more than one places. It's not just Colorado. It's not just, Michigan or Michigan State. It's going on in all these prominent areas. Did you ever expect to see this in 2020 as we start dealing with race relations and social and economic injustices?
No, I didn't. And this is one of the things that as the coronavirus pandemic got deeper, that I thought was really an important factor, was that athletes had so much more time to talk to each other. They didn't have to be in camp. They didn't have to be in summer classes. They were just able to communicate with each other. And as the concerns rose, I'm imagining their conversations increased. And then you watch the NBA and the precautions that they took, and still have gone through this with no positive tests yet, which is, hey, we're crossing our fingers and keep, just looking at that stays the same. And then you watch baseball and you watch all these non-bubble sports. The bubble sports doing fine. Hockey's doing fine. WNBA is doing fine. NBA is doing fine. If you stayed in a bubble, you're good. But college kids are figuring this out, and you see it. They're saying, we still don't feel safe kids in the SEC, when the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, says, hey, y'all just going to have to deal with the fact that people are going to get infected. No, kids don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that because they know their livelihoods as well as their lives are on the line.
Right.
And they don't want to hear that for your entertainment, for your money, for your university. Right. And I think that that's part of it now is like there. And you know, I had an attorney on the pod, and we talked a lot about the demands that the Pac-12 students are making. And some of them are impossible in this short term to do. You can't line up insurance in 2 weeks. You know, you can't. That's just not going to happen for 100 kids. You're not going to do that or have a policy. You're not going to be able to get a Title IX approved compensation plan. Because, again, if you're doing compensation the way that they're talking about it, it would be a flagrant violation of Title IX. So you have to work all those things out. But you have to at least now you're asking the question. And this goes all the way back to 2014 when they rejected Northwestern University's bid to unionize. And the National Labor Relations Board could not really explain why they did that. And to me, it was generally just the flexing of the power of college sports, of the NCAA saying, we got better lawyers. And that's what this is going to be about, is better lawyers, because these kids are not going to be able to do it. Somebody would have done it pro bono, I believe that. A major attorney.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But once the NLRB ruled and you couldn't appeal, that made it done. So that they wouldn't even make a decision basically saying we can't do this because it wouldn't apply to everybody. But I think that that's coming again. I think that there will be a union challenge again. And what's going to be interesting is everybody keeps saying, well, if these kids don't play, they should lose their scholarships. No. Again, you're putting kids in harm's way. So I would say more power to these kids. And I think this is the most important summer now for the empowerment of student athletes in the history of college sports, in the history of it.
Yeah. I like the mobility. I like the cohesiveness of this movement. I got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask you about the impact of what The Rock did with the XFL in connection with this movement. All right. We got David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, joining us. Kelsey Nicole Nelson was with us for a brief minute, but she was here. So we'll see if she's able to get back. Again, she's in that storm area, so y'all keep her lifted. We'll be right back with more right here on Winning Wednesday on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Pottersfield. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-308-6729. 800-308-6729. 800-308-6729. That's 800-308-6729. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. If you've been involved in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or injured at work, you have rights, and you may be entitled to money for your suffering. Don't accept an offer you get from an insurance company until you talk to a lawyer. And we represent some of the best personal injury lawyers you can find. Tough lawyers that will fight to win your case. And they're so good they stake their reputation on it by only getting paid if you win. So if you've been in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or hurt on the job, find out today for free what kind of compensation you may be entitled to. Call the legal helpline right now.
800-547-4170. 800-547-4170. 800-547-4170. That's 800-547-4170.
It's the lunch break on KYOK.
All right, y'all, back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Again, I want to remind you about the Greater Greens Point Census Car Parade going to take place Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Grand Marshal, none other than Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Pastor E.A. Deckard, and Bishop Shelton Beatty. They're going to drive through, honk, wave, and celebrate the Greens Point community being counted in the 2020 census. If you have not taken the 2020 census, be sure to go to 2020census.gov. That's 2020census.gov, or you can call 832-666-9870. That's 832-666-9870 for the Greater Greens Point Census Car Parade. I am such a nut. I am, man. I could have been the third member of Beavis and Butthead. When I see stuff like 666, my mind just, oh God, why didn't they change it? It's like, dude, it's 3 numbers. It's a phone. It's like, call the number, get registered.
And technically speaking, if you go through the Hebrew translation, 666 isn't the number.
It isn't the number, right? So I'm like that, man. I don't know why. I'm just a big nut in a grown old man's body. So y'all bear with me a little bit. David, so we were talking before the break about the movement that's going on in college football, college sports altogether. And I got to say, I never saw this coming. I thought it could happen, and, it's not done yet. Mm-hmm. Look at The Rock. Black man bought the XFL.
His ex-wife is in charge. She has the largest share.
That's okay. Because
I just want to make sure that we put, because she did a social media thing where she wanted to make sure that she understood that everybody, and The Rock did it too. He's like, she's on the top of the name. Top. So that's historic in the fact that both of them, you now have a Latina woman CEO of a sports league, which has never happened.
Right, and that's my thing, because this is what I try to keep getting people to understand. Don't have a problem with diversity. We have a problem with exclusion, and that's what we've seen in just about all of the professional sports leagues. So now we've got, like you said, a minority woman. We've got a minority male as primary owners of a professional sports football league. So now, does this give an opportunity to some of these young men if they start getting pushback, like we're hearing coming out of Washington State, like we're hearing coming out of Colorado State? Is this a viable place where young people can go if college football doesn't get its act together?
If I were in charge of the XFL, that's what I would do. I would make my age limit 18 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I am in the business of, I'm the XFL, number one, to keep costs low. I'm taking on high school players. This is what I want. I want young players that I can train and make money to go to the NFL, because that's what college football is basically. It's a factory for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want, if I'm the XFL, is I want the best of those. So again, if you have The Rock and you got this $15 million, you got a depreciated asset that you've bought, so the infrastructure is in place. Now he may get sued by Vince McMahon, which is a whole nother thing. But my focus would be on those young players, especially quarterbacks, because if you can develop quarterbacks outside of that college system, which is about the coaches winning,
right?
It is not about developing you as a pro. You're getting seen, and these coaches who have power get you seen,
right?
But you're not teaching them NFL concepts by and large. And for most of them on a weekly basis, they're better than the person across from them, the guys who are NFL prospects. So if I could get the elite high school players, the 5s and the 4s, and even some of those 3s to come over and populate my 10, 12 team league, because that's all the Power 5 is really 3 or 4 teams in each one of those conferences.
Right.
So what are you talking about? You're talking about 20 really good teams, and everybody else is what and what.
Just play.
So do that. Be that. Don't worry about fighting the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't your fight. You don't have the resources for that fight.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is put football back in the summer, which is what the USFL had the right idea.
Right.
You want to play. You don't play when NFL's playing. You go back to the summer. You do a 10-week season, 11-week season, and then you can also put those kids in school during the regular academic year. If they want to go to school, they can do that. Mm. And you have the ability to quarantine professionals. I am paying you as a professional while you're dealing with this COVID thing. You can be quarantined. You can not worry about safety because we can pay for testing. We can make sure you're secured. You don't have to worry about a college campus environment putting you in danger. And you're going to be insured. You're going to be compensated, all those things. And even if this doesn't work out, after 4 years, you would have gone to class, whatever you wanted to do, and gotten a chance to get a degree without doing 60 hours of practice every week. And you would have earned money to put aside for yourself, because most people, even if they get to the NFL, they're spending 3 years or less. So you tell me, if I got 4 years of payment playing in the XFL, or 7, even if I play all the way up until I'm 25, is that not financially just as good as me going to the NFL for 2 or 3 as a 6th round pick? You tell me. If I'm a 5 or 4-star, give me my 4 years of money. Give me that. If you want to continue, and I can choose to be educated as well, and I get paid. Right. If I'm not trying to get pros, because those are guys who are not likely going to make it. Right. How many guys in these fringe leagues really make it to the NFL? Maybe a couple. But if you get the star high school players to come play for you, and the guys who want to get out at 19, get out at 20, I don't want to go to school anymore. Come on, man. There's money to be made hand over fist, and you can do it the right way, because then you can teach those kids financial management. You can teach them how to select an agent, and you don't have any worries about some rule book, archaic rule book, keeping you from developing those young men into professionals.
I'm listening to you talk, and that's exactly what Garrett Jones was talking about yesterday. Todd Malcolm even asked the question, because right now for a high schooler, you got to be 3 years removed from your senior year to be considered for the NFL draft. Maurice Clarett had that big deal where he challenged it back in the day. I know there were a couple of other guys that made lightweight challenges.
He and Mike Williams were both, and remember they won it first, and then the NFL took them to the court that was more favorable to the NFL, and then they lost. So yeah, they got, and then they weren't given their college eligibility back either.
Right. You're dealing with 2 of those big money, big lawyered, we do it the way we want to do it. Don't care if you like it or not. Organizations, the NFL and the NCAA, if you put another group in there somewhere that can, like you said, legally, without all those rules, do it, a kid can play those 3 years removed in the XFL, make some money doing it, be trained right, be educated right, still be able to get their education, and then be considered for the NFL without all the hoopla that they got to go through, in college football and eligibility rules and all those kind of things. It just seems like a more modern and logical step, than, like you said, what worked back in the 50s doesn't always work right now in 2020.
And technologically, look, I can focus so much more on skill development because I'm not worried about wins and losses. You're saying when you have that kind of league, it isn't. Now I'm saying, there's going to be a champion, but my coaches, their job is, number one, is to develop these players and to make them the best player they could be. And by doing that, the league becomes more competitive over time. But if that's your focus, if it's strictly on making these players better, and then I think that you can really, because you don't need a Michigan, you don't need an Ohio State, you don't need an Alabama to make your kid famous anymore. These kids are known when they're in the 9th and 10th grade on Instagram, YouTube. Their highlights are out there. When they show up, there's a reason that the cameras show up. It ain't because of the school. They're showing up because you're the talent and they want to follow you. So if the big name players go, and that's what it's about. That's why we say with the HBCU thing with Howard and getting a top flight basketball player, it don't work if you just get one.
Yeah.
You got to be able to keep it going and attract more 4s, 3s, and build teams around these guys. Because if you just get one, it's not a movement.
Right.
But if you can start siphoning those kids off, and I think they're ready for it. They want a different situation. And the problem is there was no option. Yep. So if you create the option for those elite players, let them go. Yep. Let them go, because you don't know how much time you have. And I'd rather get injured getting paid than injured at a school where as soon as I get injured, I am no longer worth anything to you. Right. And you will dismiss me. I won't even get my education.
Yep. I saw that documentary where they talked about kids who, either had their scholarships taken because of injury, they had their scholarships taken because they got outplayed, and they even had the group that they're under scholarship, but the scholarship doesn't cover everything. So they're still, on scholarship, but, barely making it. Moms and dads having to, dig into all kinds of money that they don't have just to be able to keep their kid on campus so that coaches and schools can win games and be famous. So again, bro, you got me just picking my brain, stuff I wanted to ask you. We got to take a quick break. Let's get Sybil Wilkes' coronavirus update, and then we'll come back with more. Guess we got to talk about the NBA last night. Rockets found out the hard way that size does matter. We'll do that. We'll do that next when we come back on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today about the coronavirus. The NFL will fine players up to $50,000 for breaking new coronavirus rules. The biggest violation comes from a refusal to submit to required virus testing. If players fail to get tested, they first get a written warning, followed by a maximum fine of an amount equal to 1 week's salary and/or suspension without pay for a period of up to 4 weeks. The FDA list of hand sanitizers to avoid keeps growing. It now includes 114 varieties of hand sanitizer that should be avoided because they may contain methanol, a potentially fatal ingredient. Almost 2 months after reopening, Universal Orlando is laying off an undisclosed number of workers. The Florida theme park resort was reducing its workforce to reflect current priorities and needs. There are over 4.7 million cases of the coronavirus in the United States, and at least 156,000 people have died. Please visit SybilWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.
The lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
All right, y'all. We're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones, along with David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint. Hanging out with us, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, unfortunately got bumped out off by Mother Nature. And I'm not sure if our other guest is going to be joining us or not. We had a little mix-up on the date and the time, so may or may not be joining us. But hey, we roll on. NBA action last night. You kind of touched on it earlier when we were talking about what the kids are seeing as far as all this getting started and getting out there. The bubble environment works. The bubble environment seems to be working just fine. It does kind of minimize the exposure and the outbreaks and what have you. And oh yeah, by the way, I feel like we're seeing some pretty good basketball. The Rockets last night found out that size does matter. They got out rebounded by 23 rebounds. That's like a whole, almost a quarter. They got a whole half. They got out rebounded. Small ball is cute. It's fun. It's entertaining. But the coaches that know how to manage their lineup and don't get antsy and be forced to go small when you've got an unfair advantage. Hey, man, you get what you got last night. Tough loss for the Rockets. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, you have to be able to protect the paint. You have to be able to rebound. And the Rockets kind of just – and Alvin Gentry has done this with the Pelicans too, so I'm not unfamiliar with the concept, is that the idea is, well, we're going to concede boards on this side so we can get back in transition to compensate for our lack of size. Well, the problem is when you play good teams, like you said, they have that balance. That's what makes them good teams.
Right.
You can't beat Milwaukee with small guys. You can't beat the Lakers with small guys. You can't beat teams that have a presence inside with small guys. And so, yeah, you can run past the mediocre teams.
Yeah.
But you're not going to do that in really competitive games. And you're so reliant on your smaller guys, on PJ Tucker and Robert Covington, to physically match up with bigger guys over and over again. That's a lot. I love PJ Tucker. I would love to have PJ Tucker on any team I'm playing on. But I can't ask that dude to play 30 minutes of center and power forward every night. I can't do it. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to Robert Covington to make him take that beating every night just so you can have it be less physical for Harden and for Westbrook.
Right.
And that I'm sorry, basketball in the playoffs in particular is a physical game. And you have to be able to defend. You have to be able to rebound. You have to be able to end possessions. And if you don't have size, you can't do that.
You gave another team 23 additional possessions in the game. Stand by. Let me hit the top of the hour, David.
1140 KYOK Conroe, Houston. The legend continues.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones along with David Grubb. We're in our second hour of Winning Wednesday. Talking about the Rockets last night. They ended up dropping that one. Final score was what? 110 to 102 to Portland. And I got to give love to Big Mike. Big Mike came on the show yesterday and said that was what was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. Nurkic, they had no answer for him. 18 points, 19 rebounds, and the man had 3 block shots. So, even Lillard had 9 rebounds. Melo had 11 rebounds. So, the other thing, you got to win 4 out of 7 like that. You might win a few in a row, but you're not playing the same team every night right now. You got to beat Portland 4 out of 7. You got to beat the Clippers 4 out of 7. You got to beat the Lakers 4 out of 7. And then you got to go over and beat somebody like Milwaukee and Toronto 4 out of 7. I just don't see it happening.
No, that's the problem with the Rockets is that before they had built the team specifically to challenge Golden State. That's what that team was built to do, was to play against the Warriors. Well, now you're not doing that.
Right.
And then you make this change where you give up all your size because of, at the time, it just wasn't working for you because things weren't working. But they never really gave it a shot. They never really gave that group a shot. And that's 2 years in a row because that's what they did with Melo. They didn't allow Melo and Chris Paul to really get together and figure the things out together. And you keep making these concessions for one player. And you do that sometimes, but you cannot play James Harden ball. You have to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem for the Rockets is that they're playing James Harden ball. And it looks great for James.
Yep.
Fine. I mean, he'll get numbers every year. He will. He'll get numbers on any team. But playing that way, it's not like when Charles Barkley says shooting jump shots won't win you a championship. No, if you're really good at shooting jump shots, you can win a championship.
Yep.
But the Rockets don't shoot jump shots. They shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference. They are a volume shooting team. And when you're a volume shooting team, you better be able to rebound because that means a lot. If you're putting up 45, 50 threes in a game and you make 17, that's a lot of long rebounds that turn into fast breaks the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the same as turnovers.
Yeah.
Because a long rebound where you're not set, that's the exact same thing as a turnover.
Yeah. Yeah. The Lakers have already clinched the top spot in the West. The Rockets have the Lakers tomorrow, 8:00. I don't expect the Lakers to go all out. Why would they? Why do they need to?
I mean, they have no reason to the rest of the way now. And they're not going to lose the top seed.
Right.
So, I mean, and you already seen Milwaukee start to shut it down.
Yep.
People are like, oh, look, Milwaukee got beat by Phoenix and it was about 2. None of the starters played more than 20 minutes. And that's a great win for Phoenix. Phoenix needed that win.
Yeah.
But for Milwaukee, we've clinched the first seed. Giannis put up in those 17 minutes he played, I think he scored he went 6 or 7 from the floor, had 7 boards and 4 assists. They ain't worried. They can fine tune. If you're the Lakers, I think that they do have worries. I think the Lakers do have worries because they don't want to play Portland. I believe firmly in my mind that they don't want to play Portland, but they're trying to figure out how do we keep LeBron managed because there's going to be 3 games in 4 days, and that is not LeBron's strong suit at 36. So I think the Lakers do have actual worries that they could lose. I think they're not as good a team as the Clippers, and the Clippers they barely beat the Clippers with the Clippers missing Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams and Landry Shamet. So you barely got by in that game. Then you didn't see an inspired effort out of Anthony Davis or LeBron in their second game. They barely win again. So I'm not impressed with what I've seen out of the Lakers. And I think Portland is very impressive right now. the schedule that they've had, the teams that they've had to beat, and then you look at the fact that Dame Lillard's healthy, Dame Lillard's healthy, Melo giving you 15 and 11, and you know how Melo plays against LeBron. He loves to play against LeBron.
Yeah, he does.
CJ McCollum, who can guard him on the Lakers, and like you said, Nurkic right now is the kind of violent dude that you need in the middle against the Lakers. They have size. Well, they're bringing out Nurkic. They're bringing out Zach Collins. They're bringing out Hassan Whiteside. So if you're the Lakers, you are begging. And I think Memphis is done now. I think Memphis is done because you lose Jaren Jackson. They lost the 3 easiest games on their schedule. I don't think even Memphis makes the 8-9. So to me, this is now between basically Phoenix, which is hot, the Pelicans, and Portland. Portland has a hard schedule. The Pelicans have an easier schedule. But if you're the Lakers, you're rooting for anybody but Portland.
I got to give some love, too, to Gary Trent Jr. I got to give some love to Gary Trent Jr. That young man, he's not getting leftover minutes. He's making the most of the minutes that he has on that court. And he didn't back down from Harden, didn't back down from Westbrook. I'm with you. I don't think anybody wants Portland in the first round. I really don't.
Why would you? There's 2 teams that I think in the first round nobody wants to play in the West. And it's Oklahoma City and Portland.
Yeah.
Because those 2 teams know how to frustrate you. They do things that other teams don't do. You don't run up against that style very often, with Oklahoma City playing 3 guards but also being very physical. That's not normal. That's very so they present a different kind of problem if you don't have good perimeter defenders. And the same is with when you look at Portland, is that they can do it from every position. You got guys at every position on the floor who can give you 20 on a given night, and some of them will give you 30, and some of them can give you 50. So it's like, you remember when people talk about Nurkic, you have to remember Denver had to choose between, you had to choose between Jokic and Nurkic, and it was a tough choice for them. They were not sure. Yep. And so, like, Nurkic is that valuable as a player. That physicality that he brings, and he can shoot, and he can rebound, and he can block shots.
Right.
And then, like Hassan Whiteside on any night, if he feels like it, he give you 15 and 3 blocks too.
Right. Absolutely. I'm looking at these bottom 7, 8, 9, and beyond in the West. Mavericks are clinched. Memphis, Portland, San Antonio, New Orleans, Phoenix. I guess you still got to throw Sacramento in there. Who ends up in that number 8 spot?
Based on I hate sounding like a homer, but I just feel like because the Pelican schedule, I look at it, they can win 4 out of the next 5. The only game I'm really worried about them is that San Antonio game. San Antonio, for some, Greg Popovich, I don't know what he's doing. He trusts that group. They just trust each other. I mean, you put DeMar DeRozan at the 4 and you're still playing well. I'm shocked. I mean, I think that they are a struggle just because they're so long.
Yeah.
Too. They put 4 or 5 guys who are between 6'4" and 6'8" out there with long arms. They can be a real problem defensively. So I think the Pelicans have a chance to win 4 or 5, and you just have to be within 4 games of 8 to make it.
Right.
So if you're Portland and you win 3 of 5, and like I said, I don't think Memphis may not win another game now. So if Memphis falls out, I think the 8-9 goes to Portland and the Pelicans. If the Pelicans need to be an 8 in that case, because they are undefeated. They've beaten Portland 4 times this season, but asking anybody to beat somebody 6 times in a row is really hard to do. Yeah. And this is not the same Portland team that they did sweep. So if you're the Pelicans, you better get to that 8 and only have to beat Portland once to move on.
David Grubb, host of Hard to Paint, joining us here on Winning Wednesday on the lunch break. Give me a team not named Lakers, not named Milwaukee, one from the West, one from the East that could be in the finals. I think I know where you're going to go, but let me not pontificate. Let you say it.
In the East, I'd say Toronto. I still say Toronto because I think they're the most complete team outside of Milwaukee. Fred VanVleet has played outstanding basketball. Kyle Lowry is playing great basketball right now. We know what Siakam is. They have experience. Nick Nurse could very well be the coach of the year. They didn't miss a beat without Kawhi. They're showing that the 22-3 last year with him on the bench wasn't a fluke.
Right.
I mean, I love Milwaukee. But if anybody's gonna give a challenge, I think it's Toronto. I don't see it out of Boston right now. I don't see it out of Philly right now. And there's nobody in the bottom half of the East that I'm particularly concerned with. In the West, I still think it's the Clippers are better than the Lakers. But if it's not the two LA teams, then I would give Portland a legit chance to make it to the finals.
Really? Now that surprises me because that's where I was trying to see if you were going to go Clippers and stay there, but you literally have Portland as one of the top 3 teams in the West.
If they get the Lakers in round 1, and let's say it shakes out the way it does, so you get the Lakers in round 1, 4-5 would be Oklahoma City and Houston right now, wouldn't it? Isn't 4-5 Oklahoma City, Houston?
No, 4-5 is Houston, Utah.
Houston, Utah. Okay, so you get the winner of Houston, Utah. Do you think Portland can beat Utah?
Yeah.
Do you think Portland can beat Houston?
Yeah.
So now they're in the conference finals, okay?
Yeah.
And they're playing against the Clippers.
Yeah.
Probably. In 7 games, you give them in no home court either.
Right. Right. I said that on my show, my update this morning. If the Rockets are in the number 4 spot, they host Utah, but where they hosting them? They're on a neutral floor against a team that's as good, if not better. Portland would be back in the conference finals. Is the crazy thing, So, man, it's kind of scary with Portland. I sat there and I watched it last night. I blocked all of Big Mike's calls. I didn't want to hear from him, and I'm just like, man, this right here is scary. If you're in the West, you don't want Portland. You just don't want them right now.
No, you really don't. Because there's not the Clippers' one weakness is inside. They don't have a ton of size, and so. What's Portland got? A ton of size.
Yeah.
Now you might be able to, with Kawhi and Paul George, they would certainly be able to make it hard for Dame. But again, Dame is a dude just like Steph Curry that once he crosses half court, there's a reason they call him Logo Lillard.
Right.
So you have to defend him 45 feet.
Right.
You have to.
Right.
So that makes the Clippers defense come up more.
Yeah.
Which allows that back end. So even if you put Pat Beverly on Lillard, okay, so now you got Paul George on CJ McCollum, CJ's just going to run, screen and roll, run. Kawhi is going to be on Melo. Okay, Kawhi's better than Melo at this stage. That's not going to be argument. But now on the inside, you got Markieff Morris and Montrezl Harrell and Ivica Zubac. They're all good players. I love Harrell, but that's at Harrell at 6'8" is not going to do enough, I don't think. So I think if Portland would have a chance, I'd give them a puncher's chance. And all it is about to me, if you're the lower seed in any of these series against a better, like if you're playing the Lakers, you steal game 1, who's the pressure on? Even if they're not in LA, they're going to hear all the noise.
Yep.
And Anthony Davis has never been a favorite in a playoff series.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what that pressure is.
Yeah.
And he has not played well in this bubble outside of 2 quarters against the Clippers.
Yeah. That's the thing. The Clippers are a better matchup for the Rockets. They are not a great matchup. They don't match up well with Portland. Really, not many people do. Got to take a quick break, Dave. We'll come back. When we do, I want to talk a little bit more about the NBA, but then we got to jump over to the NFL. Your favorite sport, huh? Oh no, you're a basketball guy.
I'm a basketball guy.
I was gonna say I heard it with Scoop. You're a basketball guy. Yeah, man. I'm telling you. Great interview. Great show. We'll be right back with David Grubb. More right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs. Listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-961-2730. 800-961-2730. That's 800-961-2730.
Having trouble getting focused? Getting your to-do list done?
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
KYOK 1140 and 92.3.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Sylvia Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
Hey, you want some sports with your lunch? Well, tune in to the legendary KYOK at the lunch break. And I'm Raven Rogers.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Let me remind you, Greater Greenspoint Census Car Parade, Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Grand Marshal is none other than Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and co-Grand Marshals Pastor E.A. Deckert and Bishop Shelton Beatty. They're going to drive by, honk, and wave to celebrate the Greenspoint community being counted in the 2020 census. If you have not taken the 2020 census, you can go to 2020census.gov. That's 2020census.gov. All right. David, I didn't read the number that time, so I didn't get tripped up. Facebook is tripping, though. Big Mike, they blocking all your comments for some reason. I'm looking. I see El Michelle. I see Donna Coleman-Holman. I see Monique. I see CJ. Joseph Braden. Big Mike, they blocking you like crazy, bro. Andrea Guillory. David Fuller. T. Barnes. Carolyn Richards. No Big Mike. And he's from that P-Town. It's just messed up. I think the Rockets are doing it to him, man. They don't like the fact that he can talk noise today and be accurate.
Like the Rockets, I mean, I think I had a good conversation with when Valencia and I talked. When Valencia and I talked about this division, and like this was the province of the Spurs and the Rockets, for a long time, and now I think it's moving to the Grizzlies, the Pelicans, and the Mavericks.
Yep. And
I think the Rockets window is closed because now financially they're going to be in such a position. You tell me this, if you're an elite player, especially if you're in an elite wing, if you're a 3 or a 4, why would you sign in Houston? Why would you want to go there? Because this is what you've seen over the last couple of years. You're Clint Capella, they sign you to an extension, and then they get rid of you.
Right.
They take care of the guys who are the role players, but only pay them a certain amount. Because even Robert Covington's money, I think that they're going to try to figure out something with him, but you don't have any bigs on the roster. You saw what happened with Carmelo. They tried to turn him into a 4 that didn't work, a standout shooting 4 in the corner. He didn't want to do that. That's not how he plays. Mm-hmm. The Rockets are building a team for James Harden. They're not building a championship team. And that it seems like that they are so concerned with keeping Harden happy. That's why when we talk about Miami and LeBron, is that they thought, okay, the happiness is going to come when we win. Not in your day-to-day existence. We're not here to make you enjoy being in this building per se. Mm-hmm. We're here to make you a champion. And so, yeah, you may not like the fact that we got these rules, that rules, and the other. But if it turns into a championship, you understand why. Right. So you make 4 finals appearances in Miami, you get it. But you don't like that. Same with, I think, James Harden is in that situation now. Do you want to be coached? Do you want to be shaped at a certain point in your career because what have you done? You've shown that you can win MVPs. You've shown you can score, but you have not proven that you can lead. And that part, I think, it doesn't even necessarily mean a championship. It means adapting your style of play so that others can get theirs.
Yeah. And the thing is, a Kobe Bryant can get away with that because he's so just – there's so much more that went with him. When he was making statements to Shaq, like, I'm not turning my game down, I'm turning my game up. When he, ran Phil Jackson off. I mean, Kobe was different. I love James, but you ain't Kobe. And James fell out with Howard. James fell out with Paul. James has fallen out a few times with Russ. And like you said, why would a free agent come in for less money, a style that most guys in the league know is not going to get you to that pinnacle? And then, like you said, and I'm not being built for a championship. I'm being built to play with this guy.
Yeah, it's the same reason why I think a lot of veterans who have real gas in the tank, if you're an elite guy, you don't really want to play with LeBron James because now it's about his legacy, not yours. Right. You're there to bolster his legacy. And I don't think that was the view from, generally in championship teams. Yes, the superstar emerges, but nobody feels like they're on for the ride. You know what I mean? That the great championship teams with the Spurs, nobody felt like they never made Tony Parker feel like he was along for the ride. Steven Jackson wasn't along for the ride. You had a job to do, and there are expectations. But it feels like for the Rockets, you are working for James Harden, and you have to wait for him to decide that you need the ball. You have to wait for him to decide that, I'm going to penetrate now after I dribbled for 12 seconds out here up front. I mean, it's just you have to adapt, and he has not adapted himself. He's figured out if this were one-on-one, I wouldn't want to play him. He's going to win a game of 21. Yeah, but this is a 5-man thing, and I'm not saying he's selfish. He just hasn't adapted. He hasn't adapted.
Right. No, it's just the truth. It's just the absolute truth.
Assists don't mean that you're helping your teammates. That's just a function of you having the ball a lot.
Yeah. We got to give some love to Luka. Got to give some love to Luka. Youngest man with 30-plus points, 20-plus rebounds, and at least 10 assists. He did that, breaking the record previously held by Oscar Robertson.
Well, again, I don't like doing the age thing. I don't like doing that because it's a different era. There are more rebounds. Assists are easier to come by now. Points are easier to come by now. But amongst his peers for now, Luka, the thing about is people keep saying that he's reached his peak already, that he is what he is. And
really,
I'm like, he's just going to get better because he's going to learn how to use his body better. He's going to get in better shape physically as he matures, I think. And he's going to get smarter and more aware of situations. And this is a dude who's been playing championship level basketball since he was 17. Since he was 17. So the one thing is Dallas can't defend. Outside of Porzingis, who has all NBA potential as a defender, who on that Dallas, the backcourt particularly, Luka's not a great defender. Right. Tim Hardaway's not a great defender. Seth Curry's not a great defender. JJ Barea's not a great defender. So I think Dallas has to outscore you to win. But within that, like I said, you could have the 3 best players you're talking about in one division. Next year, you could have the 4 best players at their respective division, at their respective positions. Because at point guard, Ja Morant could very soon be the best point guard in the NBA.
I believe that.
Very soon, Zion Williamson could be the best power forward in the NBA. Very soon, Luka Doncic could be the best either if you want to call him a point, a small forward, whatever, shooting guard. And then you still have James Harden elite at that level.
Yeah.
I mean, this division, as far as perimeter and post, is set up. But Luka Doncic, give him his respect.
Yeah.
Put some respect on his name.
Yeah, I wanted to give it. I've been impressed with Luka since he's been in the league, and I don't know why I'm on the Kristaps Porzingis bandwagon because that dude is just I don't want to reuse freak that's already being used by the Greek freak.
Unicorn. He was the first one to get unicorn.
There you go. So. I mean, somebody was saying the other day, well, he didn't really. I looked up, dude had 39 and double digits in rebounds, and he was pretty accurate from the 3. that's a tough night for somebody at the 5. Tough night for somebody at the 5 to guard. So I like what Dallas is putting together. I'm with you. I feel like they need to put some, better defensive pieces around there. Maybe some bench players that can come in and give you that kind of defense off the bench. But again, I'd rather have the problem that they have today than to not have what they have today.
And people will want to play there.
Yeah.
You see, you're going to get shots. You're going to get your opportunity. Because when you look at it, nobody is not getting their shots when they get in the game.
Right.
Hardaway gets his touches. Curry gets his touches. Porzingis gets his touches. And they're not guys who they don't keep a ton of volume scorers. Luka will get better from 3 too. That's the thing too. He's not a great 3-point shooter. He's going to get better at that. And that's the scary part, that he can put up 28 points a night and he's not a great outside shooter, but he knows how to get to the line. Yep. He knows how to finish. He knows how to shoot in the mid-range.
Yeah.
And he's such a great passer.
Yeah.
He's 20 and he's in the MVP conversation. He's in the top 5 in the MVP conversation. Come on. We weren't talking about LeBron like that at 20. And I'm not saying he's going to be the greatest of all time.
Right.
I'm just telling you, those people who doubted him because he came from Europe, like, it's time to stop that. They're developing basketball players over there.
Right.
And these guys have been men providing for themselves since they were 14, 15 years old. They're not coming over here with a mentality to play. They're coming over here with a mentality to win.
Right. Yeah, I agree. NFL. We got to tomorrow, 3:00 Central, to opt out of the 2020 season. About 45 plus have opted out. Another 75 plus have gotten put on this reserve COVID list. Of course, Matthew Stafford's wife is PO'd because her husband got a false positive, got put on the list. She said people are not letting her kids play on the slide, and folks are saying that she's putting people's lives at risk. And sure enough, she was right. It was a false positive. What's your thought on all of it in a nutshell?
I am still shocked that they are still expecting that this season is going to start on time based on what they've seen from these other leagues. They still don't have a real protocol in place, a standardized protocol. I mean, look, Sean Payton said in his weekly press conference, he has no belief that they're going to finish the season. He said, I don't see it happening without interruption. So if you know that going in, then what are you doing about it? See, that's the problem to me, is like, what are you doing to fix this? And the problem is that football just isn't viable in all this. And I think more players, the problem is football players are going to do what they're going to look around everybody else. And this is what happens. You look around, and if nobody goes, you don't want to be the first one to step out.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy who breaks the line. But once somebody does, and we've seen it, in strikes, once one guy crosses the picket line, then everybody starts trickling back in. I think somebody during the season is going to quit and say, this ain't for me. Now we've already seen a couple high profile players say that they're not going. But once the season starts, somebody's going to say, or one team is going to have a outbreak. And then you're going to see guys say, nope. I mean, they're up to 9 Patriots now. 9.
I know. If I'm Cam Newton, I'm like, man, what's up?
Wrong time.
Yeah.
But
Von Miller said he almost opted out, but he decided to play. He could be that guy, if you will, in the season, because he's got an underlying condition. He's got the ability to say, hey, look, I thought I could do it. I don't feel comfortable doing it now. So I'm in agreement with you. There's going to be someone mid-season that's going to say, nah, I changed my mind. I'm not going to do it.
Something's going to hit home. Or like I said, either be in the locker room, or it'll just be the thought of the risk itself, or it's going to be a family member. Something's going to happen. And look, we just saw, Georgia opened up schools, and in the first day they got to quarantine people. So schools can't control it. Major League Baseball can't control it. What are you going to do in an NFL setting where that's twice as many people per team, 3 times as many people per team than what you have on a Major League Baseball roster?
Yeah, this is why I have no sympathy with the NFL. They have the money, the resources, and the pull to have done it right. They could have went up to the Greenbrier and said, hey, we're building a few more fields. We're adding on some rooms or properties, or we're going to secure some other hotels nearby, and we're locking it down. And guess what?
Well, you still could have gone. They could have gone to Disney because there are multiple football fields down there, and that's what you need. Is you need multiple fields that you can control, and you can still have booked it in. And I would have said, look, we're not going to start the season in the fall. We're going to make sure the bubble is secure, and you play it because you would need at least 4 stadiums.
Okay.
You know what I mean, to get through your schedule. Because if you split it up Saturday, Sunday, you know what I mean, to be able to start early in that day, because you can't start at, they ain't gonna play at 9 in the morning.
Right.
If you started at noon and went noon, 3, 6 on 4 fields, so you could get that's 3 games per field. That's 12 games on each field on Saturday and Sunday. That's 24 games. So I mean, you know, like you could cover that in that regard if you had 3 or 4 fields in one place. Oh, and play games only on Saturdays and Sundays, and in that way you can do testing immediately, and nobody's going anywhere. And you can lock all those players in those hotels still right in that campus and say, these teams are in this one, just like you did with the NBA. Y'all stay here, and y'all stay here, and y'all stay here, and you put up those temporary, you know, all of them had these big trucks that carry their equipment and everything.
Absolutely.
Set them up with temporary stuff, and that's why you take the months to prepare it. If you want it, you have to do the prep, and the NBA did the prep. That's why the WNBA did the prep. The NHL did the prep. There's the reason that baseball and football are going through these crises, and that these commissioners are saying that they're not going to make it, is because they're in such a rush to get the product on the field that they don't want to do the work.
Yeah, that's why I say I have empathy and sympathy for the players and the coaches and the personnel that may get sick, but the leadership, none. You had one job: watch everybody else and make the right decisions. And you blew it. And now here we're at the 10th hour, maybe the 9th hour. But guess what? That 12th hour is coming. You're going to get out there and you're going to find out, even if no one does anything wrong, they can just go and be in the environment of someone else who had nothing to do with the league that did something wrong, and they bring it back and everybody's in trouble. So I'm shocked. I really am. I thought if anybody would have gotten it right, it would have been the NFL. I see I was wrong.
I knew they wouldn't get it, because again, you talk about the leagues that care least about their players.
Wow.
You know, MLB certainly didn't care. They certainly didn't care, because again, who was set up better than they were? With the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League, you have multiple parks. You already have hotel facilities because people travel. You know what I mean? For those places every year. You could have done it right there instead of this whole, well, we're going to be regional. We're going to be regional. You'll have travel. You still have, and now you have teams that are playing the same team for 2 weeks straight because this team can't play, because the Phillies can't play, because the Marlins can't travel, because this team can't. It's a farce now. The season is worthless. It doesn't, nobody's watching it and thinks it makes sense anymore. You're just waiting for it to stop. And it's going to come to an end very soon. I believe baseball's maybe got a week or 2 left.
Well, here's the thing. Of course, the commissioner says he's not a quitter, and he's not
generally.
Right.
He's not generally a quitter. I don't know what that means. But.
Right. Excuse me, bro. We're not talking about you right now. This ain't about you. And then they've cleared the Cardinals to be able to play. They had 7 players test, 13 people total. And now they've been cleared to travel and are going to try and
Did not MLB do that with the Marlins? They said that they were okay to play. It wasn't the players. Derek Jeter came out yesterday and said it wasn't the players that made that decision to play. MLB told them they could play after they had tested positive. So do you trust MLB telling you that these guys are cleared to play?
At all. And if
they have no contact tracing. They don't know where these guys got it. So you have the MLB has no idea what's going on with these players.
If I'm the Cubs, I want no part of that. Like, you got to give me a whole lot more than it's all clear. Jump on in. The water's fine. This
is if you have the big kid on the little league team, you better bring your papers. You better have your kid's birth certificate to prove, because there's going to be parents checking. Where your COVIDs? Show me your COVIDs from this morning. I want to see some current COVIDs. We ain't talking about the ones you took last week. I want to talk about today. We ain't getting on the field with you. You know, it's like, you remember in Space Jam, even when they were like, we're not going to the locker room, coach. He's infected. Yeah, that's right. I ain't going in your park. Man, you ain't coming in mine. I don't know you people.
I almost don't even want to read this. Big Mike sent it to us. Big Mike, we sorry that the Rockets have blocked your internet service on Facebook today. Mark Emmert has spoken, president of the NCAA. Another one of those godfathers that do, who even are you? But he says, our decision places emphasis where it belongs on the health and the safety of college athletes. He says athletes must be allowed, athletes must be allowed to opt out of participation due to concerns about contracting COVID-19. If a college athlete chooses to opt out, that individual's athletic scholarship commitment must be honored by the college or university.
We'll see. Because we know that universities will figure out ways to skirt rules, that they will find ways to say that, oh, well, we're not releasing them because of that. We're releasing them because we had too many spots at this position, something like that. Lawyers are going to get involved in all of this at some point.
They need to.
And Congress is going to get involved at some point because the waiver issue with state universities is going to be a huge problem that Congress has already started talking about. I think the NCAA is quite frankly running scared, and they're trying to find these stopgap solutions to not have the players get upset because they're really worried that players are going to opt out of this season. And I think that there are going to be more.
I hope so.
And I think that at some point, this is what I don't understand is where are these attorneys who should be advising these players and saying now's the time to do class action?
Yeah.
You should be going after whatever you want right now because the world, you're not playing. The eyes of the world are on you. And there are now more people than ever who are interested in changing this playing field.
Yeah. Get
out there. And even if you lose in the court, what you do is you bring more attention to this and you get more people involved.
Yeah. On the eligibility, it said each division must determine no later than August 14th the eligibility accommodations that must be made for student athletes who opt out of a petition participating this fall, or for those whose seasons are canceled or cut short due to COVID-19. College athletes and their families must know what their eligibility status will be before the beginning of the fall season.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Because you're setting a deadline that's a really arbitrary deadline. That's next week.
I know.
It's next week. You're forcing these kids to make a decision. And that's not fair because the decision should not be made by them. It's not their, it's not even really a decision. Because what you're telling them is you're going to have to stay here. That, just like with the contracts where they rolled people's contract and added a year when they opted out for health reasons. Well, you still we're going to roll another. You don't get to get out of your contract. Well, then that's not really a choice. Because either way, I'm losing on this. If I come and play, I'm putting myself at risk. If I don't, then you're still putting me at the mercy of sitting this year out and never being treated. Even if you keep my scholarship, I'm never going to be viewed the same in the eyes of the coaching staff. I'm not going to be viewed in the eyes because even the coaches, they say that stuff. We're not going to talk bad about the guys who's opted out. The first speech is going to be, we had guys who didn't show up, who don't want to be here, but you want to be here.
Yep.
And so what you do
be here. So we're the team.
Yeah, we're the guys who came to fight. Those other guys don't matter. And those are supposed to be the brothers and the sons that you're talking about. They're all supposed to be the family. Well, we'll see because they're going to show you how much family you are when you don't put money in their pockets.
Yeah. Medical expenses. Member schools may not require student athletes to waive their legal rights regarding COVID-19 as a condition of athletics participation. Member schools, in conjunction with existing insurance standards, must cover COVID-related medical expenses for the student athletes to prevent out-of-pocket expenses for collegiate athletes and their families. Now, I like that one.
It doesn't address the whole thing, though.
I mean, at least it says something.
Yeah, but it's still a watered down version of what the Pac-10 is asking for. Pac-12 is asking for.
Yeah, right. Pac-12.
You want some guarantees, man. You want guarantees. I want these things. Are these things going to? How do we know that they're set in stone?
Yeah.
What's being signed? Who's providing these services? how is that cost being determined? There has to be some level of max benefit that they're going to reach. So what is it? What is going to happen? And unless that's, again, the athletes don't get to negotiate any of this.
Right.
So it's decisions that the university is going to make as to how far they want to go with their athletes. And I don't like that. You should, if you're going to be making decisions about their health, then they need to be at the table to make them. Somebody needs to represent them. And it's not just having student representatives.
Right.
It's having people who can inform them of their rights and the consequences of their actions, no matter what they choose. They don't have that. They've got the university and the AD telling them what their options are, and they have a different motivation than they do.
Yeah. This one I don't have a lot of faith in. Reporting. The NCAA will establish a phone number and email to allow college athletes, parents, and others to report alleged failures. The association will notify schools and conference administrators who will be expected to take immediate action.
I don't believe in that either. They've had hotlines in place for player abuse for years.
Right.
Do you see, even when we find out, what punishments are happening? What happened to unless the coach decides to do something, or the AD decides to do something, none of these things have ever mattered. Mark D'Antonio didn't get fired at Michigan State. You didn't see what's his name? The one who's now at Mississippi, the Pirate, Texas Tech.
Yeah. What is that nutbag's name?
Mike. But whatever. But
yeah,
when these things happen, we haven't seen any discipline for coaches. You had the situation in Iowa. The coach had to fire the strength coach.
Right. And
it was unrepentant. The strength coach said, I ain't do nothing wrong. It got pay raises. It got Coach of the Year awards while he was doing these things. And so instead he gets fired. He gets a payment to leave.
Mike Leach.
Yeah. So, I mean, what is it going to do? Because if you're the one who tells, and they say it's anonymous, it's never anonymous. Right. Because it always gets back. Because if you make these allegations, they have to be litigated in some manner. There has to be a record of the complaint from the player in some manner. Because otherwise, how can you investigate it?
Yeah, this is why I say, David, and then I got to take a quick break. This is why I say this is a reckoning period. I mean, I need people to pay attention to what folks are saying about you or your child's health, and we can go ahead and even include it in racism and social injustice. The people that have but and watered down solutions to your life impacting problems, I don't know if they really on your team. And even more important, I don't even know if you should be on their team, because some folks just want to use you. They don't want to protect you. So we'll talk more about this on the other side of the break, right here on the lunch break. Big Mike, thanks for sending that to us. We'll talk to those Rocket IT folks. Make sure they'll leave you alone. We'll be right back with more right after this on the lunch break.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Sylvia Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
Has someone in your family lost a job recently, and now you can't afford your mortgage payment? Or do you have a rental property and your tenants aren't paying you? Quick Cash Offer can come to the rescue and pay you cash for your home immediately. Yes, sell your home and get cash all over the phone without dealing with real estate agents and risking your safety by showing your home to lukewarm buyers. You don't need to lose your home to foreclosure. If you have any equity in your home,
convention later.
Yeah, I got a couple other things this afternoon. This is the toughest day of the week for me for all this. So I'm gonna check in later though for sure. Yeah.
Home you can't afford.
I'm gonna try and give some updates
to get the
about
cash
it tomorrow on the show.
800-780-1431.
This is my first time.
780-1431. 800-780.
I'm hoping y'all will leave Rona alone so we can have it here in Houston next year.
1431.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get it. So
This is a potter's field.
Bruh,
When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place. Literally.
No, like I said, you saw my sister-in-law. She's a nurse and took 15 days, and they're still going through it. Like my brother said, it's not. He's not. Hospitalized, but he said you don't feel good.
Burial insurance plan.
David, I almost looked somebody up on your Twitter feed.
That's piece
of yeah, about the coal and all that. Bruh, I almost turned his stuff over to some darknet people I know. Find his home address for me. I need to go see him.
Please come see me. Please come see me. I'm not hard to find. You want to talk that about my family? Don't do that about my family, man.
Bruh.
I have no agenda. I'm just saying, look,
6729.
Bruh.
That's 800.
Yeah, man. I almost took one for you, man. Just put some ho-hos and Twinkies on my books. That's all I need. Carton of cigarettes so I can have some currency.
Spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have
been
injured
up, man.
or
Some of these folks get a little
if you've
too
been
brave
involved
on
in a
social media
serious
for me.
car, truck, or motorcycle accident, or injured at work, you have rights, and you may be entitled to money for your suffering. Don't accept an offer you get from an insurance company until you talk to a lawyer. And we represent some of the best personal injury lawyers you can find. Tough lawyers that will fight to win your case. And they're so good they stake their reputation on it by only getting paid if you win. So if you've been in a serious car, truck, or motorcycle accident or hurt on the job, find out today for free what kind of compensation you may be entitled to. Call the legal helpline right now.
800-547-4170. 800-547-4170. 800-547-4170. That's 800-547-4170.
This is Jasmine Highsmith, and you're having a side of sports with your lunch here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Got to send a lot of love over to my friend Jasmine Highsmith, daughter of Alonzo Highsmith. Jasmine was a great athlete over at South Florida herself. So got to give her some love as well. All right, we're back here on the lunch break with my brother, David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, doing his thing. What you said you got 2 shows to record today. When do those come out?
Yeah, one I got to record today, but 2 that are going to come out today. Oh, I got one. Yeah, so like the Saints when I'm recording at like 5:30. So that was going to be a little bit late today. And then tomorrow, doing another football one. And then on Friday, like I said, La China on Friday. So busy.
Bruh, like for real. Can I just tune into the live feed on Friday? Is it going to be video? What are we doing? I mean, how are we doing this?
We're zooming it, we're zooming it. But hey, I'll tell her what's up. I'll give you her email. You can holler at her.
See what I'm saying, man? Now I'm about to get blocked by La China. I'll tell
her. I say, look, my man in Houston wants to holler at you and have you on the show. Would you like to do it? And I'll ask her.
Now don't mess your stuff up. Get her after she does your stuff.
Oh yeah. Mine is first. You gotta take care of me first.
That's my brother, man. I love you for free, man. I'm for real. I'm hoping that Kelsey's okay. Again, she's over in that area where the storm went through. I've been checking on my folks from New Jersey, from Maryland, Virginia. I even checked on my folks in the Carolinas. So, tough deal out there with the storm that went up their way. Little baseball, the Astros rolled a couple of home runs to an 8-2 win over Arizona. The Rangers pitching staff, their bullpen gave up 4 runs in the bottom of the 9th, and they ended up losing 5-1 to the Oakland A's. Both sets of teams will be playing again tonight at 8:10 Central. David, in our area, the high schools in the 1A to 4A conferences were able to get started practicing on Monday, and their games can start on the 27th. But the bigger schools, 5A and 6A, they can't start till September the 7th, and their games start on September the 24th if the school districts haven't already pushed back the start of the opening of school. So that's provided everything else is normal, then they can start those practices. If their school district has put back, then the schools can't start practicing until their schools are officially open. What's going on there in Louisiana?
They're still talking about going ahead and allowing schools to start practice next week. So it's the numbers are really bad for the Southeast in general. Every year, most of the football fatalities in the offseason come from the South. Most of your cases of heat exhaustion come from the South. Most of your cases of dehydration, all those things, South. And we know this is a ridiculously hot summer. I mean, it's 99 here every day, and that's just the temperature. You know what I'm saying? We also know the heat index,
right?
And so on top of that, to put these kids in that situation, I'm incredibly concerned because they're still acting like they're going to play games in a month. But I'm really worried. They still don't have any protocols in place. The private schools are already violating the rules because the state has no governance of them right now. They jumped out of the LHSAA and they're basically operating on their own, so they don't care. So they're violating the state guidelines of how many, because the state government and the Department of Ed have no control over their gatherings. And it's just, I just see disaster on the horizon here.
And as you were saying that, man, my heart immediately went to St. Augustine, went to De La Salle, went to Brother Martin, over in Baton Rouge, went to Catholic High, and some of those other schools like that, man. Golly, if the adults don't do the right thing for the kids, who will?
It doesn't seem that the adults care because it's about the money. And that's the thing that's the shame of it, is that we put money in front of everything. The players are saying it. They're starting to get to understand that in this situation, anybody who would put your life behind $1, like in the order of priorities, how could you ever look that person in the face again and say, I trust you? Who in your life that says that they care about you, that they would put a price tag on you, that there's a number that can be reached, that you become expendable? If those people exist, whether they're administrators, coaches, or whomever, then you need to get as far away from those people as possible, or we need to destroy the system that gives them that power.
I'm like sitting here right now thinking, how can we start a voters' rights drive from the high school level up? There's some 18-year-olds in high school that can vote that we need to get to. Because again, man, if the people that we put our kids in the care of and trust them with the care of our children are driving them like this and holding our manipulating us like that, I just don't know where do we go from here, man? Where do we go from here?
We need to organize parents, because they're the only ones who can stop this at this point. Legislators not going to stop it. Nobody wants to be the legislator who canceled football. Governor doesn't want to be the one who canceled football. You saw the governor of Mississippi talking about wear your mask so we can have football.
I saw that.
Not that we can live. Not that so we can have, healthy people. Not so that kids can be in school, but so you can have football. That says a lot about who we are. And we should be ashamed of that as a country, that we've allowed it to get to this point. That we're allowing children to be sacrificial lambs, that we're saying it's okay, that our leaders are saying, literally, we know children will die. We know people will get sick because of these decisions, but we're okay with that.
Yeah.
That there's a reasonable number of losses that we are willing to take to have games, not to run a business, not to have society working, not to have police officers on the street, not to have teachers in schools, but to play games. And I just can't do it.
Bro, I don't need to numb myself to this. I need to feel it. I need to feel the emotion of it, because it'll drive me to do something. Like you said, mobilize parents or get kids registered to vote or something, man, or get them to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do it. Hey, got breaking news. You ready for it?
Okay.
Are you sitting down? Is your seatbelt buckled up? The president of the United States calls NBA basketball players disgraceful for kneeling during the national anthem and says he's done more for the black community than Abraham Lincoln.
He's been saying that all week. You saw the Axiom interview. I watched that thing from start to finish. And he kept, look, the stuff, you saw the stuff he said about John Lewis, right? You saw that. So basically, he said, there were many people who fought for civil rights. Many. He's one of many. No one has done more for the blacks than Donald J. Trump. So we should all be so thankful.
President Trump said, I think it's disgraceful. We worked the NBA. We worked very hard trying to get them open. I was them to get open. And then I see everyone kneeling during the anthem. It's not acceptable to me. When I see them kneeling, I just turn off the game. I have no interest in the game, end quote.
He ain't watching NBA basketball anyway. He doesn't know anything about NBA basketball. So I'm not worried about that. And nobody else is worried about that. I mean, JJ Redick said it too. He said, nobody really cares what the president wants to do at this point, as far as it goes with this sports stuff. Now, I'm over the kneeling myself. I'm just done with it because I think it's just, like I said, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's easy to do. There's no stakes involved anymore. Doing it, and if this is the litmus test, it's a horrible litmus test at that. It's the bottom of any type of gesture that you can make to say that you care about black people. Okay, thank you. We're done. So I'm not worried about Trump. And I think that the players, though, still the biggest thing is going to be, can they hold the league accountable? Because Trump, it doesn't matter. He didn't do anything to get that league open. What's we? What's this we stuff, Claude? What's the we? What no we, Claude? What, we got a plan now, Claude? Wait. We ain't got no plan, Claude.
Oh my God, man, we gotta go, bro. I hate it. We gotta go. Tell everybody where they can find you and follow you, David Grubb, on these great bangers you're putting out, man.
Thank you so much. At DM Grubb on Twitter and Instagram. Also HITP with D Grubb on Instagram. And the website, hitpwithdg.com. And don't forget, now we're also available on Pandora. So Pandora, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and Stitcher should be coming in another week or so. So if you're looking for us, you can find us.
I was going to say, if you're looking for them, you can find them. Because like I said, I found you on my podcast app, and I was like, man, that's what's up. So
my daughter was so, I got to mention Natalia one time. We just got her own phone. So she got a Spotify. We put her Spotify app on her phone, and the first thing she said is, "How can I can subscribe to your podcast, Daddy?" So she subscribed to the podcast. So now she's like, "I can't wait to show my friends." And she said, when I'm on the bus, I can listen to your podcast." I said, "Yeah, some of it, just be careful, baby girl." But she's heard me say most of these things anyway. So. She's around.
AJ said hello. Tell LaChina I said what's up. I'm sorry. Tell your wife I said what's up. And then tell LaChina I said hello for me, please.
I certainly will.
David, always a pleasure, man. And enjoy the rest of the National Association of Black Journalism Conference, that convention that got started today. I was on one of the morning sessions this morning. Going to jump on some of the afternoon stuff today. And then I'll be bringing you excerpts from that tomorrow. So be safe out there, David. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
Yep. The only thing I wish for you is that your first one could have been in person, man, because it's so much greater in person. And I hope it is clear for next year to be in Houston. That'll be fantastic because I'll be there.
I was gonna say, you already know, bro. You're gonna be right.
We do it the whole time I'm there. We could be every day. I don't care. I love it.
Radio Row, I understand they got a media section. So
yep. So thank you to all the lunch breakers, and I'll talk to y'all on Monday.
All right, brother. Take care. David Grubb, y'all give it up for him. Let me get Sybil Wilkes on here real quick. We'll be right back after this.
Will fine players up to $50,000 for breaking new coronavirus rules. The biggest violation comes from a refusal to submit to required virus testing. If players fail to get tested, they first get a written warning, followed by a maximum fine of an amount equal to 1 week's salary and or suspension without pay for a period of up to 4 weeks. The FDA list of hand sanitizers to avoid keeps growing. It now includes 114 varieties of hand sanitizer that should be avoided because they may contain methanol, a potentially fatal ingredient. Almost 2 months after reopening, Universal Orlando is laying off an undisclosed number of workers. The Florida theme park resort was reducing its workforce to reflect current priorities and needs. There are over 4.7 million cases of the coronavirus in the United States, and at least 156,000 people have died. Please visit SibylWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.
All right, y'all, we got to get ready to go. Sybil Wilkes just did her thing. Donnie McClurkin up next with the Donnie McClurkin Show. He'll give you the best in gospel music, latest in the gospel music industry. Donnie does his thing every Monday through Friday. Again, tomorrow I'll be giving you excerpts from the National Association of Black Journalists convention going on. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Wear your mask, wash your hands, sanitize, give people 6 feet. And when you see racism, kill it. Not the person, the racism.
1140 KYOK, Conroe, Houston. The legend continues.
All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties that we had today. I don't know what was going on with Facebook. Like I said, some of your comments didn't get that I could see them here, but I couldn't see them there. So I didn't want to, read people's stuff and have folks left out. Hate that Kelsey Nicole Nelson couldn't stay on with us. And then Michael Lyle Jr. was supposed to join us. We had a little mix up with date and time. He may be on tomorrow. We'll see if we can't work it out. But again, we will be giving you those updates from the National Association of Black Journalists convention going on in DC. As always, not this, definitely this. I love y'all. Y'all take care. Talk to you tomorrow.